Alright, well when I did this last time, Unity really shat itself, and this is the sort of bug that causes me to be unable to continue with the other project, but I'm hoping it worked okay this time. It's a really fun crash bug where MonoDevelop decides that it's going to type in chicken scratch, and when it saves, it crashes Unity. Brilliant! And then when you try and reboot Unity, Unity says, oh, I'm going to crash again! So, we will see whether or not this worked. So in the last episode, we had this situation where we had made it so that these bricks all stop on integer values. And you can see it slides to an integer value. What I want to do in this episode is make it so that when a brick is going to slide off the edge, oh, I'm not doing it quite right here, like this, I want to make it so that this can't happen. So if we hit here, but we're sliding to the right, I want it to say, okay, well that's okay, we're sliding off of the edge. We're not actually going to actually end up resting here, so we need to stop. And the way we do that is we open up chunk element and we cross our fingers. Nope, it crashed. How about block controller? Can I get it to open block controller? Brilliant! Okay, so we're going to close all these files down. And then we're going to close this down, and then we're going to open it again. Okay, I think it worked. Alright, here we go. So here in the chunk element, this is the individual brick that we end up with. We do this can slide in direction. Oh, it actually saved the function I made. Alright, so I'll just go over with you what I did. Can slide in direction used to just be one argument. Can slide in direction, vector 3 direction. I created a variant which does can slide in direction, direction and position. And the reason I created the variant is, I pressed stop. The reason I created the variant is because, and I'll show you as soon as this hits the ground here. Grind, 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 grind. Here we are. When we hit here, when this brick is here, before it slides off to the side, when we do a check if we can slide, it'll check from wherever it is, and it happens to be above a brick. But it's not going to be above that brick forever. In fact, it's going to be off to the side afterwards. So what we need to do is we need to check if it can slide in the direction from where it's going to be. So we're going to check and see whether we can slide down, but we have to make sure to check whether we can slide down from where we're going to be, not from where we currently are. And to allow that to happen, we just did this can slide in direction with a position attached. And it's the exact same function. It is literally the exact same function. The only thing I did is I replaced transform.position here. I replaced that with a position I passed in. And I made it so that if you don't pass it a position, that's this variant here, it passes in the transform.position. So that means that it still works the exact same way if you call it without a position, but we can now call it with a position and demand that it tell us what's going on from a specific position. So that's what we're going to do here, and we're actually going to do two passes. This pass that we do right now actually breaks the blocks apart, and that's not what we want to do on our first pass. Our first pass we want to check and make sure that we can actually stop where we're going to be. And if we can't, we'll cancel our collision, we'll cancel our breaking apart. So we just do this exact same thing again. But there are certain bricks here, there are certain parts here that we can take outside of the loop. We don't need to have some of these inside of the loop. And the big one is position. Here. So when we come down here and we so this part here, we can take all of this and we can round it, and we can basically move the brick in our minds. We're not actually physically moving the brick, but we're finding the brick's position and we're moving the brick's position to an integer value where we're going to stop. And this is the same as it was before, but now we've abstracted it outside of the loop. And that just means that we don't have to recalculate it inside of every loop. That takes it from having to be calculated 8 times down to being calculated once. And down here, when we do this transform position.delta, we can actually just go ahead and say position minus delta in here. We don't have to use this variable. Alright, but we do have to make 2 passes here. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste it. And here we're going to say check if we can slide from downward from where we're going to be. And we'll do bool can slide equals true. Actually, I don't think we need to do that. I don't think we need to do that. Yeah, that's fine. So here we're going to find the delta just like before, but instead of calling individualize, we're actually going to create another vector3 final position equals position minus delta. And we're going to say, oh, and we can delete this because we're no longer using transform.position, so that works out. Yeah, so this transform.position is fine because we're finding the offset. Just so you realize that that transform position is correct. We don't want to use position there, or else we'll end up offsetting ourselves. That would be bad. All right, so we have this, and we want to say if not kidsa.canSlide in direction, and the direction we want is vector3.down, and the position we want is final position. So here we say if we can't slide downward, then that's fine. If we can slide downward, all right, so we do need the boolean. Bool can slide equals true. Yeah, that's fine. So if we end up not being able to slide, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this, because basically if any of the bricks can't slide, then we stick. But if all of them can slide, then we don't stick. So here we say can slide equals false and break. So if we can't slide in the direction, that means we've hit a barrier. We've actually hit a barrier. We're going to be hitting a barrier at the end of our slide, at the end of our movement. So we need to actually stop. And here at the end we say if can slide, then return. So if we can slide, that means there's no barrier, and we're going to be able to move down further. And we need to just continue sliding. We don't need to stop. And let's go ahead and see whether or not that works. Did I get any errors? Nope. All right. So here's a good one because I can land on the top and try and slide off to the side. Let's go ahead and see whether or not I can get this to work. So it really bounced, and I don't know what was up with that bounce, but the logic is okay. So you can see now that we are sliding correctly. So if I slide, you can see that it works fine. And that's a really important part of Tetris. Obviously, you don't want it to stick when it shouldn't stick. Oh, I didn't slide it fast enough. It didn't give me any grace period. We can actually put in a grace period if we want. Tetris has a little bit of a grace period. It's up to you how you would like to approach it. I'm going to try and make this project available for you guys to download at this point, but I want you to remember that I have had some very, very serious Unity bugs, mono-develop bugs with this project. And, oh, there's a bug. And so if the project doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. It's not something that I can really change because it's got serious bugs going on here. The project is still a little bit wonky, and I'm not sure exactly what to do about that in terms of things like motion and stuff. That's all stuff that I plan to tweak over the long run, but I don't want to tweak it before I give this to you for download, just because I think that a lot of people are having some problems getting it to work at the most fundamental level, and I want to give you that ability. So don't be annoyed by the slightly twitchy controls or any of that. That's all stuff that, oh, that was interesting. That's all stuff that we'll have to fix in the long run, but it's not ready to be fixed at the moment. There's lots of work left to do. Right now we're about halfway through making the Tetris part of the game. After that, there will be the half. That's about half of the development. The other half of the development is making the part of the game that's not actually Tetris, which would be things like scoring and accelerating difficulty and all that stuff that actually comes with the game, menus and crap. So that's what'll come after we're finished making this with Tetris. Anyhow, I think that's fine, and if you want to download it, you can. Your version should be just the same, so there's not a terribly huge reason to download it. If you're not having trouble, don't bother to download it. Sorry if I'm a little bit blabbermouth. I'm actually a little distracted by the Tetris. It's hard to talk and play at the same time. The Let's Player curse, I guess, can strike if you are programming a game as well. Alright, see you next time.